Every year, NFL teams spend millions on scouting, film study, and that one guy who swears he just has a gut feeling about a D2 left tackle from Eastern Cheddar State. And yet, despite all the spreadsheets, protein shakes, and 40-yard dash hype, they still manage to miss absolute legends hiding in plain sight. Welcome to the magical world of NFL draft steals, where front offices somehow let future Hall of Famers fall through the cracks like loose change in a couch cushion. We're talking about guys who were picked after punters, after kickers, after quarterbacks who flame out. These are the players who showed up with a chip on their shoulder, a grudge against every team that passed on them, and a burning desire to ruin scouting departments for the next 15 years. Coming in at the number 10 spot is none other than Jason Kelce. Drafted in the 6th round of the 2011 draft, 191st overall, right around the part where teams start picking long snappers and kids whose moms packed their lunch, Kelce entered the league with the resume of undersized center, probably a backup. Fast forward a decade, the man is a certified Philadelphia demigod with the soul of a junkyard dog and the voice of a dad yelling at traffic. You want to talk value? Kelce gave the Eagles 12 years of elite, brain-melting, highlight reel level center play. Not solid, not dependable. I'm talking best in the league year after year. Undersized? Sure, but he made up for it with footwork smoother than a con artist and aggression that could legally be classified as a felony in most states. This man pulled on screens like he was shot out of a cannon, pancaked linebackers like they owed him money, and yelled pre-snap calls like he was commanding an ancient Roman army. And don't even think about throwing exotic blitz packages at him. Kelce diagnosed defenses like he had the playbook emailed to him the night before. And then there's the Super Bowl, 2017, Eagles versus Patriots. Kelce wasn't just a champion, he was the vocal soul of that team. And if you've never seen his legendary parade speech, you need to stop what you're doing and go watch it right now. He showed up in a mummer's outfit looking like a drunk Mardi Gras wizard and delivered the greatest rant in sports history. He called out every hater, every doubter, every NFL suit who thought Philly couldn't do it. And he did it with the energy of a man who'd been storing rage in a battery for 191 draft picks. He was a 6-time All-Pro, a Super Bowl champ, and the undisputed king of the trenches for an entire era of Eagles football. He could have been a day 1 pick if scouts had looked past measurables and just watched the tape. But nah, they slept, and he made them pay every single Sunday. Jason Kelce is the kind of draft steal that makes your O-line coach cry tears of joy and your opposing D-linemen cry into their Gatorade. A 6th rounder who became the standard, the model, the blueprint. Now at the number 9 spot is Dwight Clark. Dwight Clark wasn't supposed to be a legend. He wasn't supposed to be anything, really. He was a 10th round pick in 1979. That's not a typo. They actually used to let the draft go 10 rounds deep. That late in the draft, teams are usually just flipping coins or picking dudes whose names sound cool. Clark? He was just Joe Montana's buddy who happened to answer the phone when the Niners were calling to reach someone else. Seriously, Bill Walsh called to speak with Clark's Clemson roommate. Dwight picked up. The Niners said, "Hey, want to run some routes while we look at your friend?" He said, "Sure." And in that moment, the football god said, "Plot twist." Dwight Clark went from camp body to 2-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champ, and the receiver responsible for the single most iconic catch in NFL history. A moment so famous, it's literally just called the catch. Not a catch. Not that one nice play. Just the catch. January 10th, 1982, NFC Championship, 49ers versus Cowboys. Montana rolls right, throws one to the back of the end zone that looked like it was meant for God himself, but nope. Clark goes full airborne giraffe, stretches those long arms into the clouds, snatches the ball with his fingertips, and changes the course of NFL history forever. That one play launched the 49ers dynasty. It put Joe Montana on the map. It sent the Cowboys packing, and it turned Dwight Clark, a guy nobody knew on draft day, into an instant Hall of Fame memory. He was never the flashiest receiver, never the fastest, but he was reliable, smart, tough, and always where Joe needed him to be. And in a league that chews up late-round picks before the ink on their rookie deal dries, Clark carved out 8 strong seasons with nearly 7,000 receiving yards, 48 touchdowns, and enough clutch moments to keep Bay Area bartenders pouring for life. Off the field, he was the heart of the locker room, the kind of guy you root for even if he just scored on your team. Class act, fierce competitor, goofy smile, and yeah, the catch alone would have been enough to make him immortal. Dwight Clark wasn't supposed to be a star, but legends don't need permission. Sometimes all it takes is one perfect play in one perfect moment by a guy no one saw coming. And Clark, he didn't just catch the ball, he caught history. Number 8 belongs to Donald Driver, who wasn't just a draft steal, he was a full-blown heist. A 7th round pick in 1999, taken 213th overall after approximately a billion other wide receivers, who all flamed out faster than a gas station burrito. Nobody expected Donald Driver to make the team. Hell, most people didn't even know where Alcorn State was on a map. But Driver, he wasn't playing for attention, he was playing for his life. This dude grew up dirt poor, like living in the back of a U-Haul poor, like stealing cars with his brothers just to get by poor. He came into the NFL not just hungry, but starving, and Green Bay handed him a shot like, here's a helmet, don't get your hopes up. Spoiler alert, he made the team, and then he never left. Driver turned himself into the Packers' all-time leading receiver, until some guy named Devontae decided to go full cheat code. But at the time, 10,137 receiving yards, 61 touchdowns, and a reputation as the toughest 6', 190-pound man to ever exist in a frozen tundra. Aaron Rodgers trusted him, defensive backs hated him, and fans worshipped him like a wide-out-shaped fireplace in the Lambeau snow. He ran routes like his soul was on fire, took hits over the middle like it was a hobby, blocked like an angry tight end, and he did it all with zero ego. Just grit, grind, and that megawatt smile that made you think, this guy might actually enjoy running slants in -10 degrees. Driver was never the biggest, never the fastest, never the flashiest, but he was always open, always fighting, and always there. Game after game, year after year, his whole career was a middle finger to every scout who saw a raw athlete and walked away. He outworked the league, outlasted the doubters, and outplayed damn near everyone drafted ahead of him. He even won Dancing with the Stars, because of course he did, as if being a Pro Bowl receiver, author, philanthropist, and Green Bay icon wasn't enough. He just casually picked up a mirror ball trophy like, yeah, I can do this too. Donald Driver wasn't just a draft steal, he was an all-time underdog story. A 7th round pick who built a career out of sheer willpower, good hands, and vibes so strong they could melt Lambeau Field. And the best part? He did it his way. Quietly, fearlessly, and with enough heart to make every pick before him look like a terrible mistake. Coming in at number 7 is Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis wasn't supposed to be a superstar, he wasn't even supposed to play. Drafted in the 6th round in 1995, 196th overall, Davis was just another late-round flyer, a maybe he makes special teams kind of pick. At Georgia, he barely got carries. He was always hurt, stuck behind Garrison Hurst, and had about as much draft buzz as a WNBA mock draft at a monster truck rally. Even the Broncos were like, yeah, maybe he'll cover kickoffs or something. And then TD showed up to Tokyo. That's right, his first real shot came in a preseason game in Japan. He sprinted downfield on kickoff, blew up the returner with a hit so clean it could have been used in an instructional video, and the coaches immediately looked at each other like, who the hell was that? The next thing you know, he's the starting running back. What followed was a 4-year stretch of absolute running back warfare. Terrell Davis ran like he was mad at the ground. He hit holes with the subtlety of a freight train. He wasn't flashy, didn't juke dudes into another dimension, didn't stiff-arm souls into orbit. He just saw a crease and detonated through it. 2,000-yard season in 1998. Yup, NFL MVP, check. Super Bowl MVP, you bet. And that was after literally blacking out from a migraine during the Super Bowl and still scoring a touchdown he couldn't remember. Let me repeat that. The man couldn't see and still got into the end zone. You know how legendary you have to be for the coaching staff to say, yeah, we're gonna give the ball to the blind guy anyway. That's Terrell Davis. He was the engine behind John Elway finally getting his rings. Elway was 37, held together with ace bandages and stubbornness. TD made the Broncos go. In 2 straight Super Bowl runs, Davis was untouchable. Defenses knew he was getting the ball, and it just didn't matter. He ran through them like cheat codes weren't turned off. The downside? His knees were made of expired warranty parts. After 4 elite years, his body gave out. Bone on bone, surgeries, pain. He tried to come back, but the magic was gone. Most guys with a short career get tossed into the what could have been bin. But Davis, he did so much damage in such a short time that the Hall of Fame still said, yeah, let him in. Terrell Davis is the reason you watch day 3 of the draft. He's why every team thinks they can find the next hidden gem in the 6th round. He's the prototype for the hit it and quit it running back career arc. Dominate the league, wreck your knees, ride off into Canton. He wasn't supposed to be a star. He wasn't even supposed to be on the plane. But Terrell Davis turned one kickoff hit into a dynasty, an MVP, and a legacy that hits harder than he did on special teams. That's not a draft steal. That's Grand Theft Football. Number 6 belongs to Rayfield Wright. Rayfield Wright wasn't supposed to be a Hall of Famer. Hell, he wasn't even supposed to be an offensive lineman. Drafted in the 7th round in 1967, 182nd overall, Wright came into the NFL as a 6'6" tweener from tiny Fort Valley State who had played tight end, defensive end, and a little bit of whatever the hell else the coach needed. The Cowboys drafted him with all the certainty of someone buying gas station sunglasses. And yet, that man ended up protecting Roger Staubach's life and pancaking defenders like it was personal. Let's be clear, Rayfield Wright became a dominant tackle in a league that was still trying to figure out what to do with athletes that big and that mean. Tom Landry looked at this tall, raw, athletic freak and basically said, yeah, we're gonna strap 30 more pounds on him and make him block defensive ends until they cry. And it worked. Within a couple seasons, Wright was anchoring the Dallas offensive line like Poseidon himself guarding the gates of Valhalla. From 1970 to 1976, Wright was the guy. 6 straight Pro Bowls, 3-time All-Pro, 2 Super Bowl rings. He started 166 games, blocked for Staubach and Dorsett, and made it look easy. Defensive ends would try to speed rush, bull rush, spin. Wright would just casually redirect them into the turf and keep it moving. Smooth, powerful, and low-key vicious. He had the agility of a tight end and the patience of a poker dealer, and he blended them like a chef with a vendetta. And don't let the gentle giant image fool you. Rayfield Wright was tough as hell. Dude played through injuries that would have put most linemen in a neck brace, never complained, never demanded attention, and just kept showing up every Sunday like a human sledgehammer. He was the kind of lineman who didn't just beat you, he made you question your career choices. Ask Deacon Jones, who once called Wright one of the few guys he actually respected at tackle. Off the field, class act. On the field, violent technician. He was everything you want in a lineman. Dependable, durable, and deadly if you lined up across from him with bad intentions. And he wasn't even supposed to be on the line. He just figured it out, worked his ass off, and became one of the greatest offensive tackles in NFL history, like it was part of the plan all along. Rayfield Wright is what happens when raw talent meets the right coach, the right team, and the kind of work ethic that eats egos for breakfast. A 7th round pick who became the cornerstone of a dynasty and earned a gold jacket in the process. That's not just a draft steal, that's a Hall of Fame robbery. Number 5 is Richard Dent. Richard Dent wasn't drafted, he was summoned. Like some ancient defensive spirit conjured from the football gods on day 3 of the draft just to punish offensive lines for eternity. Taken in the 8th round of the 1983 draft, 203rd overall, Dent came into the league looking like a scrawny edge rusher with potential and left it as the MVP of the most terrifying defense in NFL history. Yeah, you heard that right, Super Bowl MVP. From a guy taken after kickers, punters, and dudes who probably needed to ask for time off work to attend rookie minicamp. But let's back it up. Dent came out of Tennessee State with a chip on his shoulder and 2 moves, fast and faster. And once he got to the Bears, Buddy Ryan took one look and said, yeah, let's turn this man into a weapon of mass quarterback destruction. By his 2nd season, Dent had 17.5 sacks, and by 1985, he was the freaking Grim Reaper in shoulder pads. The 85 Bears defense wasn't just good, it was biblical. Plagues, floods, quarterback sackings, and at the center of that pain parade was Richard Dent, coming off the edge with zero regard for your left tackle's well-being. He wasn't just fast, he was surgical. Swim moves, rip moves, spin moves. Dent had the whole buffet, and he was eating all Sunday. In Super Bowl 20, he wrecked the Patriots so badly he might have owed them reparations. 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, constant pressure, and 1 MVP trophy that should have come with a warning label. He didn't just make plays, he made a statement, like, I may have been drafted in round 8, but I'm the best player on the field, and your quarterback's chiropractor is about to get a phone call. Over his career, Dent racked up 137.5 sacks, 4 Pro Bowls, a Defensive Player of the Year, 2 Super Bowl rings, and more ruined offensive game plans than a 2 a.m. Waffle House brawl. He was relentless, mean, efficient, and he did it all with this quiet, cold-blooded demeanor, like he knew exactly how he was going to ruin your afternoon and preferred not to shout about it. And the best part, the Bears almost missed him. They weren't even sure he'd make the team when they drafted him. He was too light, too raw, too whatever. But then he hit the field, started erasing pockets like a glitch in Madden, and never looked back. Richard Dent wasn't just a steal, he was larceny with intent to destroy. An 8th round pick who became the face of fear in the golden age of defense. And if your team passed on him in 1983, congratulations. You gave the monsters of the Midway their final boss. Number 4 is Ken Houston. Ken Houston didn't just make teams regret passing on him, he made them repent. Drafted in the 9th round in 1967, 214th overall, right around the part of the draft where teams are mostly just picking guys with good vibes and clean dental records, Houston walked into the NFL as a no-name safety from Prairie View A&M. Small school, small hype, huge chip on his shoulder, and all he did was become one of the greatest safeties in NFL history. Ken Houston had that rare, terrifying blend of instincts, range, and unholy violence. Watching him play was like watching a preacher who moonlighted as a bounty hunter. He played like he already knew what play you were about to run, and had decided you weren't allowed to enjoy it. Whether it was laying out receivers like he was swatting flies, or jumping routes like he hacked into the quarterback's brain, Houston didn't just cover the field. He owned it. In just his 2nd season, the man put up 12 interceptions. 12. That's a career for most safeties. Houston made it look like fishing in a kiddie pool. Over his 14-year career, first with the Houston Oilers, then the Washington football team back when they were, well, called something else, he racked up 49 interceptions, 21 fumble recoveries, and 12 defensive touchdowns, which was an NFL record at the time. Man was a walking pick-6 machine before it became a fantasy stat. He was also the rare kind of safety who could do everything. Play deep, done. Come down in the box, absolutely. Blitz the quarterback? Let's just say several QBs are still emotionally recovering. Houston was fluid in coverage, deadly in open space, and built like someone who had been carved from granite by an angry sculptor. He made 12 straight Pro Bowls, was named All-Pro 7 times, and was so good for so long that opposing offenses used to change their game plan to avoid him entirely. That's right, imagine being so feared that grown men drawing up plays for a living say, you know what? Let's just stay the hell away from number 29. And if you're into poetic full circle stuff, the Oilers traded him to Washington in 1973 and fans were devastated. Houston showed up in DC and immediately became the heart of their defense. Within weeks, he had the locker room's respect, the coach's trust, and the league's receivers looking over their shoulder like they owed him money. There's one iconic moment that sums him up perfectly. Monday Night Football, 1973, Washington versus Dallas. Last play of the game. Cowboys are 1 yard from the end zone. Walt Garrison gets the handoff. Looks like a guaranteed win. And then, boom, Ken Houston stuffs him at the goal line. Game over. Cue pandemonium. That hit is still playing on a loop in the nightmares of Cowboys fans everywhere. Ken Houston wasn't just a great safety, he was the safety. A 9th round pick with Hall of Fame instincts, bone-breaking hits, and a playmaking sense of destiny. He didn't talk trash, he didn't flex, he just showed up, read your soul, and sent your tight end to the shadow realm. So yeah, 9th round, small school, no hype, and he still ended up in Canton. That's not just a draft steal, that's divine intervention with a helmet. Number 3 belongs to everyone's favorite unk, Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe didn't just redefine what a tight end could be, he redefined what fun looked like at the position. Drafted in the 7th round in 1990, 192nd overall, Sharpe came into the league with zero fanfare, a chip on his shoulder the size of a Lay's boy, and enough southern swagger to make every post-game interview feel like a WWE promo crossed with a cookout sermon. Coming out of Savannah State, yes, that's a real school and not a made-up team from a football movie. Sharpe was an undersized, over-athletic hybrid who didn't really fit anywhere. Too small for a traditional tight end, too big to be a wideout, too country to be quiet. Most teams looked at him like, need athlete, no idea what to do with him. And then the Broncos were like, screw it, let's just throw him the ball and see what happens. What happened? Hall of Fame career. Sharpe finished with 815 catches, 10,060 yards, and 62 touchdowns, retiring as the greatest tight end to ever do it at the time. This man was everywhere, over the middle, down the seam, breaking tackles, starting fights, finishing them, celebrating in the end zone while telling your defense to hold my mule. He didn't just catch passes, he torched defenses. He made linebackers look like traffic cones and safeties look like they had never seen a slant route in their lives. And he did it all with the loudest mouth in football history. Shannon Sharpe didn't talk trash. He narrated games like an ESPN analyst while playing in them. You remember that time he got on the sideline phone and said, "Call the National Guard, we are killing the Patriots." That's not just legendary, that's Shannon Sharpe canon. But let's not pretend he was just vibes. Shannon was a beast. He was strong, fast, had hands like industrial strength fly traps, and ran routes like a pissed off wide receiver who wanted to hit people. He helped Elway win 2 Super Bowls in Denver and then went to Baltimore and added another ring just because he could. And yes, he was still cooking people at that point. And unlike a lot of big talkers, he earned every syllable. He was an 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, and the first tight end to ever rack up over 10,000 receiving yards. You know how hard that was in the 90s, back when tight ends were basically just extra linemen with dreams. Sharpe forced coordinators to build plays around him. He turned the tight end position into a weapon. Post-retirement, the man became a TV legend, suit on, mic hot, still talking spicy, still making sense, still letting the world know that Hall of Fame work ethic and Hall of Fame trolling can coexist in one glorious horse-muscled human being. Shannon Sharpe wasn't just a draft steal, he was a heist with a soundbite, a 7th-round pick who kicked in the door of Canton while yelling, "Skip," and dropping 100 yards on your secondary. He didn't fit the mold, so he broke it, and then laughed on his way to 3 rings and immortality. Now in second place is the second best quarterback of all time, Joe Montana. Joe Montana didn't look like a franchise quarterback. He looked like a guy who'd help you move a couch, offer you a Gatorade, and then humble you in backyard football without breaking a sweat. Drafted in the 3rd round of the 1979 NFL Draft, 82nd overall, Montana wasn't the big-armed phenom or the combine freak. He was just a dude who won, constantly, casually, almost disrespectfully. Coming out of Notre Dame, Montana had a reputation for late-game heroics, clutch drives, and just enough chaos to make you wonder if he was lucky or legendary. Spoiler alert, he was both. The 49ers took a flyer on him while other teams were busy drooling over quarterbacks with rocket arms and zero feel for the game. And then, Joe just went out and became the coolest killer in NFL history. Let's talk accolades. 4 Super Bowl rings, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 league MVPs, 0 Super Bowl losses. The man was undefeated on the biggest stage while barely sweating. His heart rate in a 2-minute drill was probably lower than yours sitting on the couch. He didn't just beat you, he made it look routine. Montana's superpower wasn't his arm, it wasn't his speed, it was the fact that he never ever looked rattled. He played quarterback like he was picking out avocados at Trader Joe's. Calm, methodical, terrifyingly effective. Down by 6, no timeouts, less than 2 minutes. Perfect. That's where Joe lived. He invented the clutch gene and then turned it into a Super Bowl resume. And the catch? Oh yeah. You remember, 1981 NFC Championship, last drive, rolls right, pump fakes, fading backward, hits Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone to send the Cowboys into a pit of despair. You think that was lucky? That was Montana's signature. That's what he did. He turned chaos into coronation. But don't mistake Joe Cool's calmness for softness. He played through injuries, he took hits, he got benched, he got traded, and still came back in Kansas City, pushing the Chiefs to their first AFC Championship game in a million years like it was a side quest. And he did it all while looking like he could have passed for your algebra teacher. Montana wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, he didn't care about MVP debates or Instagram followers. He just won, quietly, consistently, over and over. While other quarterbacks melted under pressure, Montana just raised his eyebrows, called a play, and stabbed your season with a 12-play drive and a smirk. The man made winning look boring. So yeah, Joe Montana in the 3rd round, that wasn't just a draft steal. That was football robbery in broad daylight. A franchise-defining legend picked after guys who lasted 2 seasons and a prayer. And if you still think he's overrated, ask the Bengals, or the Dolphins, or the Broncos, or literally anyone who got hit with a Joe Cool comeback and left the stadium wondering what just happened. Joe Montana didn't just play quarterback, he ruined yours. Now for the most obvious number 1 ever, Tom Brady. Tom Brady was drafted 199th overall in the 2000 NFL Draft, a pick so low they almost mailed it in with postage due. 6 quarterbacks went before him, none of them matter, because while other teams were chasing arm strength, 40-yard dash times, and haircuts that screamed draft bust, the Patriots accidentally stumbled into the greatest football player of all time, and not just greatest quarterback. Greatest human to ever touch a football, period. When Brady was drafted, he looked like a guy who brought his own lunch to the draft combine. His 40th time was slower than dial-up internet. His body built like a high school substitute gym teacher. His scouting report read like someone describing a tax accountant who occasionally plays flag football on the weekends. Weak arm, lacks mobility, can't escape pressure. Basically a polite way of saying, thanks but no thanks. And then he became Thanos with a chin strap. Let's talk receipts. 7 Super Bowl rings, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 league MVPs, 89,000 plus passing yards, 649 touchdowns, and an endless trail of broken hearts, shattered dynasties, and haunted defensive coordinators. Brady didn't just age like fine wine, he aged like wine that drinks you. He played until he was 45, and at no point did he look like he needed help getting up after a hit. In fact, most of the time he just got madder and played better. You want comebacks? He wrote the manual. Down 28-3 in the Super Bowl? Cool. Let me casually eviscerate the Falcons' will to live. Need a 2-minute drill to seal your fate. Consider it done with 37 seconds and 1 functioning tight end. Brady turned 4th quarters into horror films for opposing teams. And what made him terrifying wasn't that he was the fastest, strongest, or flashiest. He wasn't. He was relentless. He was obsessed. He studied like a valedictorian with a caffeine addiction. He screamed at teammates like an angry dad coaching youth soccer. He treated every rep like it was the playoffs. Because in his mind, it was. He owned the AFC for 2 decades, and just when you thought he was finished, he moved to Tampa Bay at age 43 like it was his retirement home, and immediately dragged a 7-9 team to a Super Bowl. Oh, and won it against Patrick Mahomes in a blowout in his first year. Because of course he did. This wasn't just a draft steal. This was the greatest pick in NFL history. The man went from backup clipboard holder to the undisputed GOAT while turning every quarterback drafted before him into trivia questions. So yeah, pick 199. No hype, no expectations, just a quiet skinny kid from Michigan who told Robert Kraft, "I'm the best decision this organization has ever made." And he was right. Tom Brady didn't just prove the doubters wrong, he buried them under 7 Lombardi trophies and smiled while doing it. You'll never see another like him, and thank God for that, because the rest of the league still hasn't recovered. That is our personal list of the top 10 draft steals of all time. If you enjoyed, be sure to press the like button and let me know in the comment section down below what you thought. You should also subscribe and check out our last video where we rank the top 10 defenses of all time.